Right, next step with the inner primary. When we put it on, there's a new O-ring to go in between here and the engine. I'll give that a very light coating of oil. But also you want some 3-bond around your bolt holes on like these bottom 3 at the back, and these two at the front. They're bolted externally, so it doesn't really matter. I've got new, they're the original bolts, but they've got the new clips on. The old ones are there. So we'll get some 3-bond on here. I don't know if you can see that actually, but what I've also done is I've lubed the bushes in there and fed the gear lever shaft through. Right, a bit of 3-bond on the job. Now this is so that it doesn't leak oil out the primary. So just dab a light coating round the bolt hole. You'll also be putting some on there, or should I say I'll also be putting some of this on the threads on the bolt. So it's just so it doesn't leak oil out of the primary. Right, now we've got that on, I'll knock you off again, set you up at the back at the bike, and we'll get the inner primary put on. Right, we'll start by putting some oil on this O-ring. That goes in between the primary and the engine. When you get that lubed up, just put it in place. And make sure it's seated properly all the way around. Clean this off my fingers. Right, what you also want to do is your oil seal in there that's going to go over here, you just want to put a bit of lube inside that as well, just so it slides over. And once you've got that done, just get everything positioned up. And carefully a line make sure your belt's out the way. Oop. I should do this belt. Right, there's a where your starter motor comes through, I think it's up in this top corner, there's a locating dowel, and you've got to make sure that your primary locates on that. Make sure your belt's in where it's meant to be around the back, and then get it pushed in, and then start putting some bolts in. Now I'll put some 3-bond on the threads of one of these bolts. Just nip the bolt up to start with, just sort of finger tight, and then get your next one and do the same. 3-bond on the threads. What if you put enough on, you'll find it'll sort of clag up inside the hole as well. If you spin it as you go through, it'll put a bit of sealer up the hole as well. Just nip them up, and then we'll put these 3 in. Exactly the same thing. Bit of sealer on the threads. Right, also I'm using the original bolts. If they're all new then it doesn't matter. I don't know if you can see on the end of there, you'll notice one of the bolts is clean and one's dirty. Well, it's not dirty, it's just discoloured. The discoloured one goes through this bottom hole, and the reason it's discoloured is because the other end of this hole is open. So that one can go back in where it came from. Just put my lid on my 3-bond. Change my fitting and put these front two in. Now the front two don't need any sealer on the threads. Right, and these get torqued up to 28 Newton meters. So start with the front bottom one. And crosswise pattern sort of thing. And then the back, it's just in a row, it's like 5, 6 and 7. And then just go over it again. Well, I always do, I always usually do double check them all. and once you're happy that they're all tight, you'll your next step, you'll have to get a little punch or a chisel or something, is you just knock these tabs up onto a flat so that it hodds the bolt from turning, because basically it was what they are, is just locking tabs. So I'll just knock it off a second, go and get something to eat it with, and we'll be back. Right, knock these tabs over. Right, and that's it. Ready for the next bit. Right, knock you off and come back. Right, I'm going to put the starter motor in. Now, on the starter motor, when you take it apart, you've got your splined bit on the end. You've got like a coupling piece. Now, the coupling piece is counterbored in one end, and that isn't the same as the other end, obviously. Now, the counterbar, if you put the coupling piece on the starter motor, the counterbar wants to be facing out. So once you've done that, let's get yourself positioned and feed your starter motor in. And with this one, before I push it in all the way, I'm just going to reach through and just pull my belt, because my belt's sticking up. That's the rear drive belt. Right, once you've got it so that your rear drive belt's out of the way, just position your starter so that it's going in to its hole, and then basically pull your earth lead. You can just pull them ones out the way for now, but your earth lead you want. So you then get the rear mounting bolt, and on your rear mounting bolt you've got your lock washer, and you've got two star locking washers. Now, one goes all the way up with the locking washer, and if you put your bolt through your earth cable, sorry, and then put your star washer on the other side, just done that wrong. Right, take both star washers off, push your bolt through your earth cable, your earth cable, then put one of your star washers on, and then what you want is you want your bracket. This bracket here it's an exhaust bracket, and on the put your bolt through your exhaust bracket, and your other star washer goes on the back of the bracket. And then, so sort of feed it through until you can get your bolt to go through the hole, and then get the front bolt with your lock washer on and feed that one through. I'll just unplug my neutral switch for a second. Just pull the wire out along there. It just enables me to get my socket on. Allen, should I say. Just nip that up and then lift your wires out the way onto the back one and feed that one in. Right, before you tighten them up, just double check that you're in all the way. If need be, just give it a little rattle. That's in anyways. Right, just nip it up. Right, and these bolts torque up to 27 Newton meters. I've set my torque wrench. And feed it onto the back one and torque that one up as well. Right, once you've got them torqued up, just pull my wire back through for me. There's a rubber boot on the bottom of the starter. Just get your wires past that and push back onto your neutral switch. Tuck your wiring out at where. Right, these two wires I'll put on later, but while I might as well plug that in. Just pushes in and that's it. I'll put them on later because there's a rubber boot that goes over this which I need to ratch out. Right, now that's on and tightened, we'll go back to the other side and carry on with the primary side. So I'll knock you off for now. Right, put the rest of this starter together in here. Just putting a little bit of lube on the jack shaft to go through the seal. Right, just carefully feed it through, give it a waggle as you push it through, and then you'll feel it start to contact with the coupling that was on the starter motor, and that's that all the way in. The next bit you want is the other, well I suppose there's another coupling really. Just put a bit of lube on it. Now this has got a retaining ring inside it. And it's only in so far. It's like a short space on one side. The short side goes in first. Line it up onto the the teeth on the jack shaft, and then your starter gear and your spring go on next. So just shove your spring in, and then your starter gear, shove that in, rotate it till it goes into the splines, and then basically get your thrust washer. There's a new thrust washer on this, and it comes with the new seal on that seals the end of the jack shaft. So just feed the long bolt and push on there, back out. You can see on there's like a keyway, and on the locking tab there's a tag that sticks down. You want that to go into the keyway on the end of the jack shaft. Right, so just push the gear in, thread your bolt down, make sure the tab's lining up with the keyway, and then start threading your bolt in. Right, and I forgot the socket, so I'll just knock it off for a sec. I'll come back. Right, I've grabbed a spanner instead of a socket. Just hold the teeth on the sprocket and just tighten your bolt. Now the torque setting for this is very, very low. It's like 7 Newton meters, or 9 if I remember rightly. So basically just tighten it up, get one of the flats to line up with the tag. That's tight enough, and then just basically push the tab up. That's fucking tight. I'll just get a pair of pliers. Right, just get your pliers on and just pull it round so it's locked up against the side of the bolt. Don't hit that with a hammer to try and knock it round, because you can bend your shaft. And then basically that's everything's free for when you're wanting to start it up. Right, I'll knock you off again.